Tyler
autocomplete
Hero?
by Tyler Hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was number one for many, many years, obviously. Now it's Tyler Hero.
Legends die, man. This is part of the business. Life keeps rolling along. Latest Tennessee notes. So I was listening to various pods. I think it was on VolQuest today when I was doing some chores around the house this morning. And I was listening to, I think it was Rob who mentioned that there's not a lot of bigs in the portal. So it's like to replace BHH or anything like fans who are concerned about the big rotation. It's like, go look in the portal. There's no one there. Like Rick Barnes is kind of strapped there. There's nobody he can really add that would move the needle at all. But what they did mention was that, hey, do not be surprised if you're going to get another Euros or a Santiago pop in to UT this fall. So it seems like there's going to be a random player that none of us know about that is just going to pop up in this roster and then be a great contributor for the next 3 years. So that is something to think about. I don't know. When you look at this depth now that Justin Powell, we have not recorded since he entered the portal. So we know Bailey's gone to George Mason. We know Powell's gone. BHH goes to Louisville. I don't know. Yuri Collins stays at St. Louis, which is a huge surprise and I think a bummer for Tennessee. I think they really thought they were going to get him, and I still don't really know why. I guess it's just because St. Louis is a top 25 team this year, and that they bring back a lot, and they should be pretty good again, and who knows? Like, maybe he's just comfortable in that scheme and where they're at. But I would love to get a deep dive into what happened there. But you also bring in Key, who I think will be an instant bucket getter and someone very important early on to get this thing moving without Kennedy Chandler running things. But I don't know. Where are you at with Tennessee when you start thinking about the rotation and where they can still do stuff and the absence of Powell now?
Well, I don't really think Powell affects the projections much, frankly. I mean, he's about as translucent off the court as he was on, but he just like never really seemed to make an impact after honestly December. So it is what it is there. And the Yuri Collins thing, I don't think we'll ever get the full story on that. My guess is just like St. Louis probably got for lack of a better term, they got the bag worked out for him. They probably got the NIL money straightened out, which is good. I mean, good for him if he got like a good package. So no worries there. But no, I mean, I think this is still, and I'm assuming Vescovy and Triple J are coming back because I don't feel like I don't think either's NBA prospects at the moment are super sunny.
Yeah.
So
I think they're both back. Yeah.
I think they're both coming back. I would say this is a borderline top 10 roster still. The question will be really more than the roster talent for me is, with the departure of Mike Schwartz to East Carolina, who is more or less Tennessee's defensive coordinator, can they sustain that level of success there that they've built over the last 5 years without him? And then second question that is roster related, do they get Julian Phillips? I think that's the one that's on everybody's mind because, Phillips put out his announcement graphic, he's making the announcement on May 12th. There's 7 things listed on it. A couple of them are G League or other professional play related, but pretty much everybody seems to believe this is coming down to Tennessee and Auburn. And if you read the tea leaves, people seem to believe it's Tennessee who's in the lead. And I don't have any huge hashtag sources on this, but I would lean towards that being the outcome. I think there's just more minutes for him available at Tennessee than there is within Auburn's rotation.
That's interesting because he profiles at like 6'8", 200, that tall, extremely lanky, where he's got to fill out his body. They just had that with Jabari Smith.
Right.
So I wonder if, I don't know, is he looking at what Pearl did with Jabari and he's like, that's what I want to be used like? Because that's what you're being used like all over again. I don't know. That's interesting because guess what? Tennessee will not play him like that. That is not how Rick Barnes runs things.
Maybe. But it's like we saw Barnes really go outside of his comfort zone this year with playing 3 guards or Triple J at the 4 a lot.
But you think he would play him at the 5?
I don't think he's built for the 5, frankly. 6'8", 200 is not a 5 in really any lineup to me. But that's a guy who you're willing to let handle the ball in the perimeter, which is not really something you've had from a power forward before. So that would be nice to have. I don't really know, to be honest, what Tennessee's going to do with the other spots. I know that people seem a little pessimistic on the bigs, and I totally get it. There's no high-profile, obvious, go-get-this-guy bigs out there. But I think, one, I would give it to the end of the month before really getting worried because there's still time for people to bounce around. There's NBA draft decisions that are still being made. Like, I mean, there's been plenty of talented guys to enter the portal, like, KJ Williams from Murray State, Pete Nance from Northwestern is an interesting one. Obviously, Trey Mitchell at Texas, who just didn't seem to work out there. As always, the famous DJ Burns of Winthrop, who my buddy could really use a conditioning program, I hate to say. But, I mean, give it a little time before freaking out. I think if they get Phillips, it's a top 10 team going into next year. It's kind of like you have a really good baseline with Rick Barnes at the helm. It's always the question of what is the ceiling. And for Tennessee to find that ceiling, it is going to be, can you get a good backup, or probably, honestly, starter for Ziegler, who probably plays more minutes at point but is the sixth man? And two, can you figure out something at the big man, or at the five, without being overly reliant on, like, Aidu having a breakout season or Kamwa coming back even better than he was before injury? Because would you like to believe that's happening? Of course. Can you count on both of those things happening? I mean, not entirely. It's a little bit of, on a wing and a prayer type of thing there. So.
Yeah, and I wonder if they had known BHH was unhappy, or they knew how certain things were going to go, and Powell, like, would they have given Brandon Miller more attention, local Tennessee guy who ends up at Bama? Like, those are the ones you can't lose. Like, those are the ones where that one I think will hurt a little bit more, because Tennessee does not have anyone outside of Phillips on the radar in the top 50 in this class. And obviously we saw what happened last year with Aidu, BHH, and Kennedy, but that's the thing that I think when you talk to other Tennessee fans and folks about the NIL and everything with Rick Barnes, is like, he's got to adapt quickly. And this is something that we wonder is this going to be a thing? Because he's going to have to recruit, and the recruiting game has changed. And to keep this thing moving and to be as good as we were this past year, I think there's an expectation now around Tennessee sports and Tennessee athletics is like, you got to recruit, man, or we'll find someone who does. Like Kim English will come right back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for Barnes specifically, it's like, I can see a scenario where Barnes is comfortable with using NIL in the right way to boost recruiting, comfortable with getting guys, but this all comes with the knowledge that Barnes is at an advanced stage, and he's okaying this because he's frankly not going to be around much longer as a head coach.
Right.
So I wonder if they get Phillips, that's probably naturally where my mind is going, is that Barnes, frankly, if you're going to get a top 10 recruit like Phillips these days, you're going to have to drop a huge NIL package.
Right.
And I don't know specifics or anything, but I mean, given the way it's going in football, and given the way we saw the situation at Miami play out with Isaiah Wong, it seems obvious that that's going to happen with all top 10, top 25 recruits in all sports, or at least all major sports. You're going to, if they get Phillips, I think it's because, Tennessee worked out the NIL thing pretty well. And that leads me to believe, like, Barnes is going all in, this year's team, because I think he clearly loves James and Vescovy a lot. And, maybe he sticks around for a little longer. I don't know. I don't really have any specifics on that. But you wonder if he's fine with giving more money to one player because he knows he's running out of shots at his, second Final Four.
I don't think he's wired like that. I don't think that's his thing. I think he's a process over results kind of guy.
Yeah, but when you're, 68 or whatever it is,
yeah,
you got to get the results at some point.